Okay, we're going to do a chicken pie today, and I know I've made a chicken pie before, but this is going to be a barbecue chicken pie with just some slightly different ingredients. Again, just obviously about prep. This chicken's been pre-cooked on the barbie, so it's cooled down. So what happens is when you cook it like this, you get those kind of crispy, chunky bits, which is exactly what I'm after. And it's exactly what Maggie loves, and that's why she's here today to help. So it's going to chop up a few of these. Now this is going to be quite a big one. Okay, so I'm going to serve probably about 8 people with this. 8 hungry mouths, just chopping up those last bits. Fairly chunk size, making sure that a fairly chunky pie. I love it when you have a bit of chicken or even a steak pie and you get those really big chunky bits going. Okay, so there's the chicken. That's done, right? I'm going to be adding stuff in. I've got the fry pan on there. I've got a chunk of butter in there. I've got a bit of oil and I've got a massive lug of garlic as well. So let's put that chicken in. Just watch that doesn't splash and make sure nothing falls off for Maggie. Again, just feeding that in. Big chunky chicken pieces there. Awesome. And that's just sitting in that garlic and oil. Now just while that's going as well, I want to add in some red onions. Just this is all going to kind of cook in, and then of course we're going to be putting it in. I'll put those mushrooms in last. I'm kind of a bit funny with mushrooms, but I'm also adding here leek. Okay, so I just want to chop up a bit of leek. Now some people use just leek rather as a substitute to onion. And one of the things I find with leek is don't do too much leek because it starts to taste a little bit leaky. We've got a guest appearance here today. Stanny's helping with nags. He's heard the chopping. And he knows that that means something is cooking with gags. So thanks for your help, Stanny. So just quickly, carefully, just a few of those leeks. And we're just going to, given that that chicken's already cooked, we don't have to spend a lot of time cooking. We're going to add some cream to that. There's a little bit of salt. Obviously put some pepper in. We're going to put some sour cream and some normal cream, a little bit of combo. Just mix it through. Just put a bit of that cream in. So that's that sour cream. Really going to try and mix that through. You can hear that and see that. We'll mix that in. And just add some other cream to that as well. I'm also going to put in just a generous serve of, and that wilts down. I said it before, this spinach will wilt down. Now I've also got puff pastry. What you'll see is I've got puff pastry just out of the freezer. We're going to need a fair bit for a large pan. So when that's softened up a little bit, you can break that apart. And of course, be careful that you don't split it up too much, like that. So I'll get that all done in a second. Put the cheese in shortly. Now I've also got some, these are just dried shallots. Give that really cool kind of crunch as well. Okay, so again, you don't have to add those, just add a bit of that crunch. Bring in a bit more of that cream, because you've got to bring a bit of the liquid in, but it will, of course, want to contain the liquid a little bit. We'll mix that through. So giving that a bit of a mixture. You've got the garlic and onion, butter, all down the bottom. Just mixing through. Let's try and get that. I'm going to use all of that cream there. I know that's a lot of cream, but there's a lot that we're going to kind of serve up here. Now, depending on if that feels dry or looks dry, or is that consistency, you could add some chicken stock to that. I think, let's have a look. I think we'll be right. That's just kind of really getting in down the bottom there. You can see that. Wonderful. Okay, we'll just let that simmer for a while, and then in the meantime, I'm going to try and peel that puff pastry and then plate it up essentially around that pan, and you'll notice what I've got on that pan. I've just got some oil. You could use a butter, you could use a spray, but just otherwise, without that, it really will stick. So just moving that around. And then we'll put in a little bit of that cheese as well. Just a cheddar cheese. You don't have to, but I just like that kind of cheesiest flavour. A little bit of pepper. Now, I also got some other herbs there, just a little bit of pepper. What else I've got there? I bought some of that thyme, which people know me, I'm big on thyme, so just a bit of thyme, you know, chicken, thyme, garlic, salt, pepper, onion, spinach. We're going to put the mushrooms in, sour cream, normal cream, and mixing that through, and you're going to get that beautiful kind of creamy chicken pie flavour and consistency. Now, if it goes too thick, and I've done this before, you might want to just add a tiny little bit of flour. I think this will be right because there's so much that's going to soak it all up there and sit beautifully in that pastry. So we'll come back on a medium heat, let that go, oven prepared, getting ready, and then we'll plate it through. Okay, I've just allowed that to cool because you don't want to put that on the pastry, because what will happen is it will soak through and it will stop that pastry from crisping up. Okay, so just carefully getting that in with a spatula. All that. Now, depending on how much, I kind of guessed how much I had here. We'll see how much that goes in terms of spreading it across. Now, just get that out of the way. Just patting that down. You don't want to push it down too hard because it'll get a bit too solid at the bottom. So just enough to spread that right around, which is absolutely huge at the moment, which looks good though. Looks good. Okay. And I've got that other bit of pastry there, which we'll just use for top. Now, you could make holes in this, and we might even make a couple, but just laying that down, because we're going to bring the edges over. And then sometimes when I make these, if you make them a bit smaller, you can do that crisscross effect where you roll the pastry kind of over itself. But we're just going to put this on very rustic, pretty easy, if I can get this plastic off. Now, similarly, you could do a spray, you could do an oil on top and spray that. But what we're just going to fold it over. Oh, good, we've got enough pastry there to just cover that up. Now remember, we've got the oil on the edge of that so it won't stick, and just patting that down. Speaking of which, hold it, I'm just going to grab that oil in. And I want to put some, I've got a couple of sesame seed flavours there. I've got the white sesame seed, but I've also got a black sesame seed. You can get these from the health food store. I find the easiest ones are those black sesame seeds. It looks like black pepper, but that gives a great effect to the end product. Just enough there just to give it that look on top. Give it a bit of a mix up. White as well. You could toast these. You could separately toast these, and you get a different flavour of that sesame when they're toasted, but we're just going to put them in like that. A little bit of a final product. Now, the oven's going to be on, and this will take, at 180 degrees, that'll take probably about 30-40 minutes. But again, just checking it to make sure that you're getting that brown effect on top, and we'll show you when that comes back.